We saw that amazing press conference by Finnish Prime Minister Marin and her Swedish counterpart a few weeks ago, where they telegraphed that this might be the case. Finland have now announced they'll seek NATO membership. That's a long process. It could take up to a year, but it will more than double the amount of land along the Russian border occupied by a NATO nation.
And turning to the war that's currently being fought right now, how effective is the Ukrainian counteroffensive around Kharkiv? And does that give hope to Ukrainian troops that they may be gaining an upper hand more widely across the east?
Yeah, I think so. This is a really important counteroffensive. It's way beyond the limited counterattacks we saw in the north. It is pushing the Russians well out of artillery range of the city of Kharkiv. That's an important humanitarian and political objective for Ukraine. But it's also posing a threat to the Russian offensive in the east. They've got a big decision to make. Do they intercede around Kharkiv? And to do that, they might have to draw forces from their eastern offensive.
And for the first time during this war, Russian soldiers are about to stand trial in Ukraine. What crimes are they being accused of?
Well, there's a range of crimes. Obviously, the most important ones will be murder. It's important that Ukraine does this in a transparent way. The worst thing that could happen, given all the support of the West, is that there's some kind of informal justice against these Russians accused of war crime. What we're seeing so far, Ukraine's doing everything right, being transparent and using the rule of law to go after these Russians.
And why is this process taking place so quickly in the middle of a conflict?
Well, the collection of evidence is very important, and that has to be done as quickly as possible. But also, if the Russians are there and the Ukrainians can catch them and incarcerate them and investigate them quickly, I think that's in the interests of the victims, and it's also in the interests of international law more generally.
So what will be some of the challenges as they take them to trial, and could they be facing lengthy jail terms if found guilty?
They could be, but they have to be taken to a trial if there's sufficient evidence. They have to be given a decent defence. And then they have to be found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. It's important that all these steps are adhered to because Ukraine so far has really acted as a pretty good international citizen during this war, and I'm sure they want to continue that.
Now, Mick, the leaders of Ukraine and Russia gave two very different speeches earlier this week, both very significant and really highlighting the crux of the war between them.
No, they certainly did, although President Putin's was probably watched more widely because the expectation of a mobilisation of war declaration, that didn't happen. But in both their speeches, neither leader was backing down. That was expected from Zelensky and probably expected from Putin. But it certainly revealed the different worldviews of these leaders. Putin is one that sees his country under threat from outside. That is a more imaginary threat. Zelensky is under a real threat, which the West is helping him defend against.
Well, the US has announced another tranche of aid to Ukraine. Are we seeing a change in the nature of assistance being provided?
We are. The Lend-Lease Act, which has just been passed in the United States, speeds up the provision of US military assistance in particular to Ukraine. But this large $39 billion package isn't just about military aid. There's a large component that will go to their Department of State for a range of other assistance measures for the state of Ukraine.
Just finally, Mick, can you give us an update on what the situation is like in Mariupol, which has been under attack for a long time now?
Well, the defenders of Mariupol continue to hold out. I imagine their circumstances are very grim, and good leadership will be at the heart of that defence. I can't see them giving up at this point in time, but I also can't see the Russians giving up their attempt to capture those steelworks.
Mick Ryan, thank you for your analysis as always.
Thank you.